Dark storm clouds gather over ancient mountains. Lightning tears across the sky, revealing a world long forgotten. A world before history, before empires, before the flood. This is a story hidden in ancient texts, a story of rebellion, corruption, and something that was never meant to exist. In the beginning, humanity multiplied across the earth. Families grew. Generations spread across valleys and plains. Early cities formed. Civilization slowly began to rise. But humanity was not alone. Ancient writings speak of beings known as the Watchers. They were not human. They were observers, assigned to watch over mankind, guardians of order, witnesses of creation. But they did not remain observers. They saw humanity, and they desired. They looked upon human women and saw that they were beautiful, and instead of turning away, they chose to descend. Not one, but many, bound together by a decision that would change everything. They gathered upon a mountain, a place remembered in ancient tradition. There they made a pact. If one falls, all fall. If one rebels, all rebel. There would be no turning back. And so they crossed the boundary. The separation between heaven and earth was broken. And with that single act, everything changed. They took human wives. They lived among humanity. They walked the earth openly, and they began to teach. They shared knowledge that humanity was never meant to possess. They revealed secrets hidden from the beginning. They taught the crafting of weapons, how to shape metal, how to build instruments of war, swords, blades, tools of destruction. They revealed hidden sciences. They taught enchantments, sorcery, the reading of the stars, secrets of the skies, knowledge of things beyond human understanding. Humanity began to advance rapidly. Civilization accelerated. But with knowledge came corruption. Power replaced wisdom. Control replaced truth. The human heart grew darker. What was once pure became distorted. What was once natural became corrupted. And then something else happened. From the union of these beings and human women, something new was born. The Nephilim, giants, massive, powerful, terrifying. They were not fully human. They were not fully divine. They were something in between. Ancient writings describe them as the mighty men of old, men of renown. But behind that name was fear. They dominated the earth. Their strength was unmatched, their presence overwhelming. At first, they consumed animals, then they consumed the land. And when resources became scarce, they turned on humanity. Violence spread across the earth. The ground was filled with blood. Fear consumed every nation. But the corruption went deeper than violence. It reached into the very fabric of creation. Bloodlines were altered. Generations carried something unnatural, something foreign. The earth itself became defiled. Everything was changing, and not for the better. The Watchers had not simply interfered, they had reshaped the world, and they knew exactly what they were doing. This was rebellion, a direct violation of divine order. And corruption spreads. It grows. It consumes everything. Soon, the entire earth was filled with violence. Not just one place, not just one people, everywhere. The same darkness, the same corruption. It became total, complete. And in the middle of this chaos, there was one man. His name was Noah. He was different. Ancient descriptions say he was perfect in his generations. not morally perfect, but uncorrupted. His lineage remained untouched. In a world that had been altered, he was still original, and that made him important. Because the corruption was not just about behavior, it was about existence. If everything became corrupted, nothing pure would remain. The original design would be lost forever. Noah represented something that had to be preserved, and so he was chosen, not because of power, not because of status, but because he was different. While the world followed corruption, he did not. While others embraced darkness, he walked a different path. And that is why he was selected. Because what was coming next was not correction, it was judgment, a cleansing of the entire earth. Because there are moments in history when corruption goes too far, when restoration is no longer possible. Only judgment remains. And that moment had come. The decision was made. The earth would be cleansed. Everything corrupted would be removed. Everything altered would be erased. The giants, the violence, the forbidden knowledge, all of it gone. And the instrument of that judgment would be water, a flood unlike anything the world had ever seen. Not a storm, not a disaster, a complete reset of the world. The sky would open, the deep would break apart, water would rise from above and from below, and everything would be covered. But before that moment, preparation had to be made. Noah was given instructions, precise, detailed. He was told to build an ark, not just a boat, a massive structure designed to survive what was coming, a vessel that would carry life, that would preserve creation, because while judgment was coming, so was renewal. Noah began to build, day after day, year after year, a warning to the world, a message without words. Something is coming. But no one listened. They continued as they always had, living without concern, because corruption had become normal. And when corruption becomes normal, judgment feels unnecessary, until it arrives. The ark stood as a sign, a silent warning, but humanity ignored it, because people rarely listen until it is too late. And then it began. The sky broke open. Rain poured down without stopping. The ground beneath the earth burst apart. Waters rose from below. The world was overwhelmed. Cities disappeared. Mountains vanished beneath the rising waters. The giants were swept away. The corruption was destroyed. Everything was erased, except for one vessel, the ark, floating alone on an endless ocean. Inside, life remained. Outside, the old world was gone. The flood continued, day after day, night after night, until nothing remained. Silence covered the earth. And when the waters finally began to recede, a new world emerged. But the story was not over, because some things do not disappear so easily. The waters receded. The ark came to rest. A new world began. Humanity started again. The earth was clean, reset, renewed. But the past was not completely gone, because something remained. The bodies of the giants had been destroyed, but their spirits remained. Ancient writings describe them as wandering spirits, restless, searching, unable to find peace. They were not human souls. They were something else, something that should not have existed. and their presence did not disappear. It continued, generation after generation, whispers in the dark, influences unseen. And then the giants returned. After the flood, they appeared again, different regions, different names, but the same presence. Ancient accounts describe encounters with massive beings, powerful warriors, terrifying in appearance. When explorers entered unknown lands, they reported something shocking. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes. They had seen giants. Among them was a warrior named Goliath, a man of immense size, a fighter unlike any other. But he was not alone. There were others, entire clans, remnants of something ancient, something that refused to disappear. And once again, conflict followed. Battles were fought, wars were waged, and over time, the giants faded. They disappeared from history, or at least from view. But the deeper story continued, because this was never just physical. It was spiritual, an ancient conflict, a war between two lines, two paths, light and darkness. From the beginning, a promise had been spoken, that one day the seed of the woman would crush the serpent, a future victory, a final end to the rebellion. But the serpent had a plan, to corrupt, to destroy, to prevent that future from ever happening. The corruption of humanity was not random, it was intentional, a strategy. To alter humanity itself, to break the design, to stop the promise. And the war continued, across generations, across empires, across history. Not always visible, but always present. Civilizations rose and fell, kingdoms came and went, but the conflict remained, hidden beneath the surface, influencing decisions, shaping events, guiding the course of history. And today, the question remains, are we seeing the same pattern again? Technology is advancing faster than ever. Knowledge is increasing. Humanity is unlocking the secrets of life itself. DNA can be studied, changed, edited, rewritten. Humanity now holds power that once seemed impossible, the ability to alter creation, to change what it means to be human. And the same question rises again. Are we crossing a line? Are we repeating something ancient? Because history has patterns, and those patterns repeat. The days before the flood were marked by corruption, violence, moral collapse, a world that had lost its direction. And today, the signs look familiar. Chaos, division, confusion, a loss of truth, and an increase in power without wisdom. Ancient words echo into the present. As it was in the days of Noah, so will it be again. A warning, a reminder. History is not just the past, it is a pattern, and patterns repeat. But the story does not end in darkness, because the promise still stands. The outcome has already been written. There will be a final conflict, a final confrontation between light and darkness, between truth and deception. And this time it will not be hidden. The forces of darkness will rise, they will gather, they will attempt to take control, but they will not succeed, because their end has already been determined. There will be judgment, a final reckoning. Everything hidden will be revealed, every secret exposed, every deception uncovered, and everything broken will be restored. The war of the seeds will end, darkness will fall, and light will prevail. The ancient rebellion will be crushed, the serpent will fall, and everything will be made new. A new world will come, not corrupted, not broken, but restored. Peace will replace chaos, truth will replace deception, and the long struggle will finally end. No more violence, no more fear, no more darkness. Only light, only truth, only peace. But until that moment, the story continues, the battle continues, and the choice remains. Light or darkness, truth or deception. Because this is not just history, this is not just a story, this is a warning and a question. Where do you stand? Because the end is closer than it seems, and the story is not over yet. If you like this message, remember it, because the past is not gone. It echoes into the present, and it points toward the future, a future that is already being written, a future where everything will be revealed, everything will be made clear, the war will end, the truth will stand, and the light will never fade. If you like my video, please like, share, comment, and press the bell button. Have you ever wondered, what if the most terrifying prophecy ever written, penned thousands of years before our time, is unfolding right now, right before your eyes? In the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 37, Jesus Christ himself issued a warning that has echoed across the centuries. He said, "As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man." One sentence, just one sentence, and yet it holds the key to understanding everything that is happening in our world today. But the question is, what exactly happened in the days of Noah? Was it just a flood? Just water and rain? Or was there something far more sinister, something that has been deliberately erased from the pages of history? Let us go back. Close your eyes and imagine it. The sky turns black. Lightning tears across the heavens. Storm waves rise higher and higher, swallowing the mountains whole. The entire earth, everything humanity had ever built, every city, every civilization, is being consumed by a raging, merciless flood. Noah and his family are inside the ark, safe under divine protection, but outside, an entire world is perishing. Why? Why would God destroy the entire earth? What had gone so terribly wrong? The answer lies in one of the most mysterious chapters of the Bible. Genesis chapter 6 paints a picture so disturbing that scholars have debated it for millennia. On one side, imagine the ancient world, chaos, giants walking the earth, unspeakable violence filling every corner of civilization. Now on the other side, look at our modern world. Cities burning in riots, destruction on every screen, society tearing itself apart. Place these two images side by side, ancient chaos and modern collapse. The similarities are not coincidental, they are prophetic. Genesis chapter 6, verse 4, contains a phrase that has robbed theologians of sleep for centuries. It reads, "The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward." 3 words, "and also afterward." These 3 words are the key that unlocks the entire mystery. They tell us that whatever happened before the flood was not a one-time event. It would happen again. Perhaps it is happening right now, but in a different form, under a different disguise. So who were the Nephilim? The Bible tells us they were the offspring of fallen angels and human women, a hybrid race of giants, beings of supernatural strength and unimaginable evil. Their very existence corrupted the genetic fabric of humanity to such a degree that God looked upon the earth and said, "I will wipe mankind from the face of the earth." But if also afterward is true, then is the same corruption happening today, just wearing a modern mask? Look around you. A massive deception is sweeping across the globe. You can feel it, but you cannot quite name it. People are drowning in information, yet they have never been further from the truth. Invisible signals controlling behavior, glowing screens replacing reality. Billions of people living in a digital illusion, their eyes open but seeing nothing, their ears open but hearing nothing, exactly as Scripture warned. Is this the great delusion spoken of in 2 Thessalonians? The deception so powerful that if it were possible, even the elect would be deceived. Now let us go deeper. Military forces around the world have encountered unidentified aerial phenomena countless times in recent decades. Cockpit footage from fighter jets shows objects hovering in the sky, defying every known law of physics. No wings, no exhaust, no visible means of propulsion. Governments that spent decades denying these encounters are now admitting, yes, these objects are real, but what they are, where they come from, on that they remain silent. But some researchers are asking a very different question. What if these are not extraterrestrial visitors from a distant galaxy? What if they are the same entities that visited Earth thousands of years ago? Fallen angels who were once worshipped as gods by ancient civilizations. Consider the pyramids of ancient Egypt, those massive structures standing beneath a canopy of stars, radiating an energy that modern science still cannot fully explain. Engineers today, with all our technology, struggle to replicate what ancient humans supposedly built with copper tools and manpower alone. Ancient carvings and artwork depict humans interacting with beings from beyond, receiving knowledge, receiving technology, receiving power. Is this merely mythology, or is it the historical record of something that actually happened? And here is where the picture becomes truly unsettling. Compare a fallen angel, radiant wings, supernatural power descending from the sky, with what we call a gray alien, large dark eyes, gray skin, also descending from the sky. Both come from above. Both claim to offer knowledge. Both interfere with human genetics. Both have been described across every ancient culture on Earth. Is this a coincidence, or is it the same entity wearing different masks for different ages? Even the Vatican, the very center of the Catholic Church, appears deeply invested in this mystery. The Vatican operates its own observatory. Priests and astronomers gaze into the cosmos night after night, studying the stars, searching for something. What do they know? What are they preparing for? Why would the most powerful religious institution on Earth invest millions in space observation? Now turn your attention to modern technology, because what is happening in laboratories around the world should concern every human being alive. The merging of human and artificial intelligence, cybernetic bodies enhanced with glowing implants. The line between human and machine is being erased in futuristic laboratories. They call it progress. They call it evolution. But is it? Or is it the oldest agenda in existence, the corruption of God's creation, the alteration of what it means to be human? CRISPR gene editing technology is no longer science fiction, it is science fact. Scientists are literally cutting and splicing the glowing strands of the DNA helix, rewriting the code of life itself. They say it is for curing diseases, perhaps, but the same technology that can cure can also transform. It can change what a human being fundamentally is. And it doesn't stop there. Human-animal hybrid embryos are being developed inside glass chambers in laboratories right now. This is not a movie. This is not a novel. This is happening. Does this not remind you of the very corruption that provoked God to send the flood, the mixing of kinds, the blurring of boundaries that God Himself established? Outside the Bible, there exists an ancient text that takes us even deeper into this mystery, the Book of Enoch. In vivid, terrifying detail, it describes how fallen angels descended from heaven to earth. They taught humanity forbidden knowledge, the art of warfare, sorcery, astrology, the manipulation of beauty and desire. This knowledge appeared beneficial on the surface, but its true purpose was to lead humanity away from God, to corrupt the divine order beyond repair. Reading those glowing, forbidden pages feels less like ancient history and more like a blueprint for the world we live in today. Picture the entire situation as a chess game. One white king stands alone on the board, completely surrounded by dark pieces. It appears hopeless. It appears that darkness has already won. But remember, in chess, the king never truly dies. The king must be checkmated. And this white king is God Almighty, and checkmating God is impossible. But the enemy is relentless. The Book of Revelation describes creatures that will haunt your nightmares, locust-like beings, half human, half insect, emerging from billowing smoke. Their appearance is so terrifying that men will seek death and not find it. Are these symbolic or literal? If literal, where do they come from? The answer: from the abyss. Scripture tells us that a great pit will be opened, and smoke will rise from it like smoke from a gigantic furnace. From that pit, fire, darkness, destruction, and the ancient beings imprisoned within. Giants breaking their chains, emerging from underground caverns, their eyes glowing with malice. The Nephilim, the ancient ones, returning. And they have a king, a dark angel with wings spread wide, wearing a crown, surrounded by an aura of pure destruction. The Bible calls him Abaddon in Hebrew, Apollyon in Greek, the destroyer. Interestingly, in Greek mythology, this same figure was worshipped as Apollo. The Greek gods, Zeus hurling lightning from Mount Olympus, Apollo ruling over light and plague, Hermes carrying messages between worlds. Were they merely fictional characters, or was it fallen angels masquerading as deities, deceiving humanity into worship? In the ancient world, there lived a mighty ruler named Nimrod, a powerful hunter, a warrior king, standing.
In Part 1, we uncovered how ancient prophecies are being fulfilled in our modern world. The Nephilim, fallen angels, genetic manipulation, the Great Deception, all pieces of an enormous puzzle. But the remaining pieces are still on the table, and they are even more terrifying. That our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, the authorities, the powers of this dark world, and the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. And God has given us the full armor to fight. After his death on the cross, Jesus Christ himself descended into the darkest cavern beneath the earth. There, imprisoned spirits were held in chains, beings that had been locked away since the days of Noah. Light pierced through that absolute darkness. 1 Peter chapter 3 tells us that he went and preached to those imprisoned spirits. This event proves that the authority of Jesus Christ extends not only over the living world, but over death itself, over the abyss itself, over every dark realm that exists. And he emerged victorious. On that cosmic battlefield, darkness was shattered. Radiant light exploded across the universe. Death could not hold him. The grave could not contain him. He conquered every principality, every power, every throne of darkness. This is not just history. This is a promise for the future. Imagine a cross glowing in the vastness of cosmic space. All around it, darkness, infinite, overwhelming darkness. And yet that single cross radiates a light so powerful that the darkness cannot overcome it. This is the centerpiece of all human history. On that cross, the price was paid, the victory was won, and that victory is eternal. But there is more to understand. An ancient genealogy scroll glows with divine light, tracing a sacred lineage. From Adam to Noah, from Noah to Abraham, from Abraham to David, and from David to Jesus Christ. This bloodline was God's golden thread woven through history, the line through which the Messiah would come. And Satan's entire strategy from the very beginning was to corrupt and destroy that bloodline. The Nephilim were not random. They were a calculated attack on the genetics of humanity, designed to prevent the Savior from ever being born. Remember Rahab, the woman who tied a scarlet cord in her window? Her house stood on the ancient walls of Jericho, and on the night when the city fell, that red cord was the sign of salvation. Just as Noah's ark was deliverance from the flood, Rahab's scarlet thread was a symbol of faith. And remarkably, Rahab, a foreigner, an outsider, found her place in the genealogy of Jesus Christ himself. And Ruth, the Moabite woman walking through a wheat field at sunset, peace, love, faithfulness radiating from her story. She too was a foreigner, an outsider, yet her unwavering loyalty and faith brought her into the very heart of God's plan. These stories remind us that in God's kingdom, no one is insignificant, no one is too far gone, no one is excluded from His grace. Yet many questions remain unanswered. Ancient scrolls float in mysterious libraries surrounded by glowing question marks. We do not have all the answers, but we have everything we need to know. And what we need to know is this: the end has been written, and God wins. Now let us turn our gaze toward the events that are still to come. Armageddon. The word itself sends chills down the spine. A massive battlefield stretching across the valley of Megiddo in Israel. Countless armies from every nation gathering under dark clouds split by lightning. The final battle of human history. But the outcome of this battle was decided before the foundation of the world. A heavenly city descends from the sky, bathed in golden light, its architecture beyond anything human minds can conceive. The New Jerusalem, God's promised eternal city, a place where there are no more tears, no more death, no more pain, no more sorrow. This is not a fairy tale. This is a covenant promise from the Creator of the universe. A man witnesses a heavenly vision, angels descending, divine judgment unfolding before his eyes. John, the author of Revelation, received this vision while exiled on the island of Patmos. What he saw was so magnificent and so terrifying that human language could barely contain it. He struggled to find words for realities that transcend our dimension. A man walks into divine light as clouds part before him. The path opens. This is the journey every believer is called to make, walking through darkness, enduring the storm, and emerging into the eternal light on the other side. Two figures ascend to heaven in a chariot of fire. Elijah was taken up without tasting death. Enoch walked with God and was no more, for God took him. These two men were so intimate with the Creator that death itself had no claim on them. Many theologians believe these two will return in the last days as God's final witnesses. Two prophets stand in the streets of a great city, and fire pours from their mouths. Revelation chapter 11 describes two witnesses who will prophesy for 1,260 days. Anyone who tries to harm them will be consumed by fire. They will have power to shut the sky, to turn water to blood, to strike the earth with every kind of plague. Could these be Elijah and Enoch returning to fulfill their final mission? Creation and the final battle, the beginning and the end, displayed side by side, Alpha and Omega. God declared, "I am the first and I am the last." Everything began with Him, and everything returns to Him. The story has a beginning, and it has an ending, and He wrote both. Now consider the archaeological evidence that the mainstream world desperately wants to ignore. The Great Pyramid of Giza glows beneath a canopy of stars, radiating mysterious energy that modern instruments can detect but cannot explain. Massive stone blocks weighing hundreds of tons, fitted together with precision that surpasses modern engineering. Ancient ruins of impossible scale scattered across every continent. Ancient stone pillars covered with intricate carvings depicting beings and technologies that should not have existed in that era. Who built these and how? Archaeologists have discovered giant skeletons, enormous bones, far larger than any modern human. These findings have been reported across the world, from the Middle East to North America to South America. Are these the remains of the Nephilim? But notice what happens after these discoveries. Secret crates are moved into government vaults. Classified documents are sealed. Evidence disappears. The Smithsonian Institution has been accused of systematically destroying or hiding hundreds of giant skeletal remains. Why? What are they afraid the world will learn? Aerial views of ancient mound structures in North America reveal geometric patterns of astonishing complexity. Native American oral traditions consistently speak of a race of red-haired giants who once ruled the land. In Lovelock Cave, Nevada, a red-haired giant mummy was allegedly discovered, preserved in the dim light of a cave for thousands of years. Explorers throughout history have reported encounters with beings of enormous size. Are these just legends? Every culture on Earth has them. Every continent, every civilization. When every people group on the planet tells the same story independently, perhaps it is time to stop calling it mythology. A world map glows with mystery points, locations where giant remains, impossible structures, and ancient anomalies have been found. The evidence is global. The cover-up is global. The implications are staggering. DNA strands pulse with ancient memories. Could our very genetics carry echoes of that ancient past? Scientists dismiss 97% of our DNA as junk, purposeless genetic code. But what if it's not junk at all? What if locked within those silent strands lies the true history of our species, a history that someone doesn't want us to remember? The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse ride through a burning world. The white horse, conquest and false peace. The red horse, war and bloodshed. The black horse, famine and economic collapse. The pale horse, death, with hell following close behind. Have these riders already been released? Look at the world. Deception everywhere. Wars